Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to the Bedford Stefan apartments in Brooklyn, New York, in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the Uncanny Chris.
No, I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble.
Symbol.
Volume 80. We've done 4 episodes in a week's time, Brent.
Basically, I mean, like 8 days, right? Thursday to Thursday.
Thursday to Thursday. We have done 4 episodes.
Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, and we're back. Granted, they haven't all been, normal episodes. Like Tuesday was way more than just us. So definitely thanks to the guys from Geekverse and the guys from DC Alliance for hopping on with us. And who am I? Well, Travis from DC Alliance. Who am I missing? Am I missing anyone? Geekverse guys, Travis.
Clay.
Well, I said guys from DC Alliance.
Yeah, DC, yeah, you just called out Travis.
And then Kirkland Taylor.
Yeah,
Snell.
Kirkland Taylor. Snell, yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was
great.
It was awesome, and it was a lot of fun. And I purposefully did not join until after I watched the trailer. That's like, no offense, but I don't want to hear you guys while I'm watching this for the first time.
Nope. I kept my mic on, so as we queued everyone up, I didn't hear them. I could watch and make my comments at that point. But yeah, Marvel has fed us a lot of comments. Most episodes we've done back to back to back since the iteration of the show. So I am not going to complain. I love this stuff, and I enjoy talking with you and other people about this. So yeah, so I think we're both looking to have a step back for a little bit and in a normal kind of a week of recording coming up at that point, but a little off, but we'll get into that just a little bit. So let us get these network plugs out of the way. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network with 8 shows. On Mondays, we've got my show, World's Finest True Believers, alternating bi-weekly with Ranger Alliance. Ranger Alliance dropped a new episode this week. Next week is World's Finest is coming back with a returning guest, a returning series. So make sure to check out the preview on Friday's feed. You'll see exactly, and it will not be hard to guess what we're continuing on with. So look out for that for Monday. Tuesday's DC Alliance, Wednesday Superhero Discussions, Thursday Star Wars Alliance, Fridays the show Marvel Alliance, and on Saturdays bi-weekly a walk through the multiverse, and on Sundays bi-weekly Slice of Film. And a special plug, Slice of Film will be going live, I believe, this Sunday around 3:30 in the Geekverse feed. I'll be joining Katie, and not sure if anyone else will be joining. I just know I'm going to be joining at the very least, looking at Ghostbusters Afterlife. I just saw that tonight. I loved it. It was outstanding. A lot of nostalgia. So I will help talk about that with Katie on Sunday afternoon. So that'll be dropping the feeds very shortly after that. And so those are all our shows. DC Alliance, Marvel Alliance, Star Wars Alliance all have their separate solo feeds. So make sure you check that out. Subscribe to them on top of the GUA feed. We have a Patreon, so we want to thank our patrons for all their support. We can't do this without you. And we got 2 tiers. A $1 tier is our tip jar to say, hey, we're doing a good job. We really appreciate you. And then we've got our $5 tier that has our ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and our Patreon exclusive episodes. And yes, that last Ronin number 4 review has finally dropped. So hope your patrons, thank you for being patient with us. Hopefully you are enjoying that. And if you can't join us on Patreon, we totally understand. But if you can rate and review the Marvel Alliance solo feed and the GUA feed on Apple Podcasts, whatever podcatcher of choice may be, we greatly appreciate that. And we have back to our main sponsor for this show, organicpricebooks.com, for all your omnibus collected edition and hardcover needs. The crew at JP and the crew at OPB have got it all going on. They've got, I just know it is DC related. It's not Marvel related, but it is DC. Well, I'll plug a Marvel book. The reprint of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3 Omnibus has come back into print. That is ready to ship out. And today it does exist. It has officially come out. Scott Snyder's Batman Run Volume 2 Omnibus is finally arrived. It is here, so make sure you check that out. And if you do, whether you're ordering a DC book, Image book, or Marvel book, use that code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. Use it as limited times. We want to thank them for being the official sponsor of Marvel Alliance. And so those are the plugs. We do have a programming note.
Yep.
So next week, it is American Thanksgiving next week. And with Hawkeye dropping next week, but Brent and I have obviously some family obligations, and we want to focus on family on Thanksgiving. So with our normal recording day, so we are going to be recording Wednesday night, not live. Looking at the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye and comic book. We will continue comic book club looking at the Matt Fraction one of Hawkeye, but no news, no fact or fictions. It'll just be that. So we're going to record that separately on Wednesday night, not live. It will drop in the feeds on Friday morning. So if you're going out Black Friday shopping, either in the stores or online, we'll have that Marvel Alliance feed to keep you company as you do all your shopping needs.
This is where I say, do it online. Make it easier on everybody.
Yes. That's what I'm gonna do. I've been typically for the last 3 or 4 years, I've gotten all my Black Friday shopping done on Wednesday. So
I'm more interested in Cyber Monday this year because that's my shopping I plan to do, or should I say Spider Monday?
yeah, Spider Monday, buying our tickets at that point. So
That's right.
oh, can't wait to do that. It'll make me feel so happy to have that ticket in hand. So all right. So those are all the plugs, stuff, network stuff at that way. Oh, I see Fanboy Clay's already in the chat. What is he saying? John Cena confirmed attacking Lizard. So does that mean Vin Diesel is the one breaking through the breach at the end of the trailer? Well, he's bringing the family with him to help Spider-Man.
I mean, family matters, right?
Family of spiders.
I mean, I don't think Green Goblin and company stand a chance against Dom and the rest of the family.
Yeah. So all right, so the main topic, yes, we did a reaction with everyone on Tuesday night, but as we said, we wait to do a proper breakdown, giving us a couple of days to watch this trailer over and over again, and I got to see it in theaters while watching Ghostbusters Afterlife, so that was a cool experience. Let us break this trailer down. So I've got it queued up. As you know, listeners, we cannot play the sound. We cannot make it full screen because we don't want to get demonetized. We don't want to get a slap on our hand by YouTube. So, Brent, I will rely on you to kind of watch the chat as we go through and call out different things, and
Sure.
we'll stop at points, call out different things. So it's going to be. You ready to watch this for how many times is this for you right now?
I was not told I was supposed to tally it, so I don't know the number. I've watched it several times. That's all I can tell you.
I know it's over 10 times for me, and that's all I will be confident in my counting of math. So, all right, so let us do this.
These weird trailer previews. I'm like, I don't need that. Yeah. Just jump to the trailer.
Mm-hmm. So we get, Peter just kind of doing a voiceover as we see some similar stuff. The Public Enemy #1, the bridge sequence, the Brooklyn Bridge. Oh my goodness, that Brooklyn Bridge. Can never get enough of it.
That Public Enemy #1, there's just something off about that shot. Like the proportions are just skewed oddly.
And very much almost seems like I've almost thought it's kind of like a nightmare sequence for him.
Huh. That could explain it. We'll go with that.
And we get him talking with MJ, saying that, his only week he's felt normal was the week he told her he was Spider-Man. And one thing I want to say about these trailers, trailer 1 was a focus on the fallout of the identity being revealed. This trailer is, though we were about to see the fallout of the spell, this is everything as a result. And so I like how there's two different trailers that you get 2 different looks of what this movie's about.
I like that there's a continuity between the trailers. Like I don't remember if we've ever seen this before. I'm sure at some point some other movie's done it, but this trailer assumes you saw the first one. Hey, remember that spell that you jacked up? Here's our fallout. And then people be like, what's he talking about? Oh, I didn't see the first trailer. It's like, I don't know. It's different, but I like it.
I find it interesting that Strange says the spell that you screwed up. I was like, he might have distracted you, but if we're going to be pointing fingers, you screwed it up, Dr. Strange.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Strange is pretty arrogant even after everything he's gone through. I'm not surprised that he would want to shift that blame onto somebody else.
Yep. Okay, so all these rings I've seen a lot of people saying this, and after watching a number of times, I'm definitely going to call it out too. At one point, you see 4 different rings, signaling possibly 4 different realities: Raimi, Amazing Verse, MCU, Sonyverse.
I mean, I'll admit it. The first time I saw that observation or heard that observation, it's like, I don't know, maybe you're reaching there, but I had to go back and look at it, and I get it. Like, it's there.
It's a
That very
stretch. I
much.
will give you that. It is definitely a stretch, but
I mean, it's a stretch until you consider all the other things, and there really are, the Raimi movies, the Webb movies, the Watts movies, based on the characters who are in it, and then presumably something with Venom. But at some point, remind me to talk about why actually I'm not so sure Venom should be in this. I mentioned it on the last episode, but I want to go into that again too.
Yeah, and the question, then he says, when this happened, universes, people from other beings from other universes have started invading this one. And the spell is about Peter being forgotten as Spider-Man. And when the spell went through the multiverse, these are the people that are most obsessed with Spider-Man. And so they're about to die, with the exception of possibly one villain that never on film was seen dead on screen. That would be Sandman. They all have this obsession.
Well, didn't Lizard survive too?
Did he?
I mean, he turned back to Connors. But...
Yeah. Okay. So I guess death on a thing for him is like I guess true. So Sandman and Lizard, those two technically didn't die.
Right.
But it's interesting that how they're being called in, and there we get our pumpkin bomb coming through. And our first we'll get a better look at, but this is our first closest look at this point. Willem Dafoe returning as Green Goblin.
I love it. No, I don't like his costume, but I'm still glad the costume's here because that's the costume he wore. And costume aside, will die on this hill. His characterization was just bang on perfect. So I'm very excited to see him again.
And even with the quote unquote Green Ranger costume, they have made, and we'll get a better look of it later in the trailer, improvements on it. It is still, there, but a lot of rumors are pointing to him possibly being the main villain for this movie.
I mean, among the group of villains that we know about, he is the most dominant personality. Like, I definitely don't see Electro, Sandman, Lizard taking charge. Like, it's going to come down to Norman and Octavius, and I'm not entirely convinced Octavius is going to be considered a villain by the time we're done watching this movie.
Oh, just watching this trailer, it's very clear this is an Octavius that's not going to be. I mean, it even challenged him to being a quote unquote antagonist. It seems like as in the movie, he's a very conflicted character, a very tragic character, like a lot of these Spider-Man villains are. But as we'll see later in the trailer, he is going to also go through a costume change, and we'll point that out. But even when I'm probably not going to be able to pause it, right? If you look up the high-res screenshot that people have been grabbing, I'm pretty confident that new costume look is also Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but right now I'm going to agree with that conclusion.
Yeah, so we continue on. Get a look at Electro spurting out. Then we get some more of the bridge. Doc Ock. Hello, Peter. Now, here's the thing about this bridge. This bridge is over the Hudson River. Brent, what happened to Dr. Otto Octavius in Spider-Man 2 in the Hudson River?
I mean, he went down. He went in it.
Yeah. So yeah, and then going back, like we get our first view of going back, the black suit.
Yeah.
Now I've heard a lot of different things. One thing I found interesting is that, and I couldn't find this confirmed. I don't know if you've heard or seen. I know we're both kind of off this, but I've, watching different places, I trust in not revealing the certain images that are out there.
Right. I'm not browsing the hashtags. I'm just going to trusted sources for analysis.
Yes. The black suit, this black suit possibly being the red and black suit turned inside out due to the other one getting damaged. Have you heard anything like that?
I haven't. That's interesting to me. I'm wondering what I'm missing that people are coming to that conclusion
Yeah.
with. I mean, to me, it looks like just the overall designs of it looks quite a bit different.
Yeah, and it's a cross between between the red and black one and the integrated suit. So I thought it was just an entirely new suit to begin with.
Yeah, that's what I've assumed this whole time.
So we'll just have to see what that is. But that's our first big look at it. I just love Doc Ock, the tentacles and everything. It's so cool. He is such a cool, well-designed character in the movies. All right, so this is interesting, and we'll get a closer look at this. The tentacles. These tentacles now have a go through a change of all metal to now this red and gold tint. We talked about this on Tuesday. I'm getting even more convinced that this is how the tentacles are going to be absorbing some of the integrated tech of the integrated suit.
Of the spider armor?
Yeah.
Or the Iron Spider, I should say.
Yeah, Iron Spider, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And, you know, you get these shots of Dr. Octopus appear to all take place on this bridge. And there's a shot later in the trailer where it looks like the nanotech is going over the tentacles. So I feel like, okay, well, we're definitely seeing this out of order some, but I agree. I think that's what it is. I don't necessarily think he's just like pulled Stark Tech. I mean, technically the Iron Spider is Stark Tech, but I don't think he just like, went down to Target and picked up some Stark nanobots and threw them on.
Especially how that the sequence I keep going back and forth on it, the nanotech on his helmet goes away and protects the body of him, so I'm wondering if he's going to take some of the nanotech and he won't be able to fully use the suit as it originally is in the sequence later on.
Would kind of make sense considering where this suit came from, because that's what happened with Iron Man's suit of nanotech in Infinity War. He could use it up, and as eventually he used it up, he was unable to fully protect himself from Thanos.
Yep. So some of the possibility of stealing it, and this is where Peter's a mess, and where Doc Ock says, wait a minute, you're not Peter. Who are you?
I like that. Like they visually look different, and he doesn't just automatically know who he is. So he hasn't necessarily seen the reports. He doesn't even necessarily know what's going on at this point. Like for all Octopus knows, he just woke up and climbed out of the river. Yeah. And sure, he sees the Spider-Man suit, so he's going to think, okay, it's Spider-Man. Not until he sees the mask off that he realizes this is not the same person. This is a much younger Spider-Man.
Yeah. And so you sent me this from a TikTok, this sequence here where they're going, so what's your name again? It's Dr. Otto Octavius. And he said, no, really, what's your name? Talk about the TikTok you sent me, because I think it's very plausible, and it points to how trailers are made to throw off people and out of sequence things.
Yeah, if you look at the surroundings, like look at the shot you have now of the trio, it doesn't really it's like they're in a different room. Yeah, it's still dark. It just doesn't look the same as the shot of Octavius in his cell. It's possible it is. It's just looking at it, it really looks different. And so this TikTok I saw really pointed that out. And one thing that they were theorizing is, well, when they say, what's your name? And they all kind of laugh and it's just whatever. It's like, no, really, what's your name? It almost to me makes more sense if they're laughing and like this weird laughter of like, not like they genuinely find it funny, but like they're uncomfortable almost, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they're actually talking to another Peter Parker in this scene.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that and it's like, you know what, that is really, really plausible. It's, like I said, especially how we know sometimes, and Infinity War is the most recent one that comes to memory, is like putting things there that either don't make it in or out of sequence to make you tell the story you want people to think you're getting, and then when you actually see the movie, it's you see the truth. Now, even going back to the bridge sequence, I had put this to you and some other members that after the day after we did our recording on the reaction one, I was going for a run and I started thinking about how this trailer is coming about, how this movie's coming about. And I thought, it's not just one moment in time this movie is taking from.
One moment in time.
Yeah. It is also a storyline, a 3-issue storyline from the J. Michael Straczynski run of Spider-Man called Happy Birthday.
Yes.
in the comics, it's where Dormammu attacks Times Square and Doctor Strange goes and tries to cast a spell to send him back to the void. But Peter gets in the way, forces a tear in the multiverse where he encountered two different versions of himself, one from the past and one from his future. And he realizes he can affect realities and slightly change things to help him stop becoming Spider-Man, and it does end up at one point him fighting villains from all multiverses at once. It's a really cool ending issue.
It is. Did you happen to reread it?
I did. I was able to reread it last night.
So the last night's when I read it. There's this really great sequence as it jumps from like he's fighting the Vulture, he's fighting Green Goblin, he's fighting Dr. Octopus, he's fighting Lizard. A lot of these should feel very familiar names that I'm mentioning here. He fights Electro in one of them. And it's not all, and then eventually it jumps out to all kinds of Spider-Man villains, way beyond just ones we've seen in the live action movies. But after finishing it, I'm like, there is no way, like the way I firmly believe they read One Moment in Time and that was an influence, I believe this Happy Birthday story was too, which, just to reiterate, it was Amazing Spider-Man issues 57 and 58 and 500, because 57 and 58 were Legacy 498, 499, and then they renumbered for 500.
And here's the kicker of where I think this would be a way to finally bring in something that many people, including myself, has said has not been present and has been a criticism so far of these movies. Strange at the end of this gives Peter a birthday gift that allows him to talk to Uncle Ben's spirit and has a conversation about how proud he is of Peter and that he has lived up to his legacy of with great power comes great responsibility.
Super touching, super well written. Highly recommended to read it. And do you think it's plausible? Do you think we might finally see Uncle Ben?
I think if they do take anything from this, I would love for that. And I know pretty much all our GUA people have said almost the same thing, is that if this is a big secret, they have to cast some really top tier older actor, to be in. I know saying, "Oh, they should have done Uncle Ben earlier." But if this is where we get it, I think this could land really well.
I have been like at the forefront of the line saying we did not need Uncle Ben. We did not need the origin yet. We had just got the origin in 2002. We had just got the origin in 2012. We didn't need it again in 2017. I do believe Far From Home missed a possible opportunity to organically bring up Uncle Ben, like directly, overtly, like not just references. I feel like it is time. Like just because I don't think he's needed in every single story, and the Raimi trilogy and the first Amazing movie massively drive home the Uncle Ben stuff, and that's fine. I don't think that was needed in every one. It feels like it's time now at this point. So I hope that you're right. I would love some sort of something taken from this. I know people have the whole thing of like maybe Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield will be the one to say it to him. I think that'd be really cool if they did, but I think this is another, like this Happy Birthday idea is another really cool idea. Like as a gift for getting through everything, Doctor Strange hooks him up with just a few minutes of that precious time.
Yeah. All right, continuing on. All right, so we get the Statue of Liberty here. It's going through some renovations. It's basic. I don't know if they're changing it all into Captain America or adding it to, instead of holding the torch, the Captain America shield. But there is a poster showing Captain America holding up the shield. So my thing is they might be changing it all to Captain America.
I could see that. It really makes me wonder, like, what is the status? What is the public status of Steve Rogers? Like Falcon and the Winter Soldier thinks he's, like they mentioned, they think he's on the moon. That takes place, or at least that starts roughly 6 months post Endgame. Far From Home was about 8 months post Endgame. This presumably is picking up right where that left off or close to it. What is this? Like, what do people think now? Especially because Sam Wilson's flying around there as Captain America at this point.
Exactly.
Like, what do people think? And I get it, like still honoring Steve, of course. I at some point I'd like some clarification on what the public consensus is on Steve Rogers.
In this yellow sky, it's probably some yellow lightning. Electro
Yeah.
flying through some of the electricity. Electro is behind him. Now, this is interesting. It may be hard to see, but if you're watching the trailer on a bigger screen or know what I'm talking about, you got the black suit Spider-Man here. These gauntlets definitely look to be, especially as the rings are going around and probably created by Strange. An idea I think is that this is also how he's a ability for him to send these villains into the prison under the Sanctorum for these invading villains.
Yeah, and you notice what's on his chest in this shot?
Yep, I'm glad you brought that up. What is that on his chest?
It appears to be a cell phone. Looks like he's doing some FaceTime with Ned and MJ.
Yep. So, all right. So this is where Strange goes. Let's Scooby Doo this crap, and MJ reminds him of magic words that help people get stuff. Maybe please, and he says, "Please, Scooby Doo this crap." So I'm continuing on. We get kind of a sequence we saw in the first one with probably Sandman and Electro kind of going at it at that point. There's we see a who is that?
Just that angelic voice of J. Jonah Jameson.
He is on the ground reporting for the Daily Bugle, so he's not just hiding behind a camera at that point. He's gunning on the scene.
There's actually a shot in the Happy Birthday comic that reminded me of this a lot, of just him out on the scene doing the reporting thing. I love so much that they brought him back.
Yeah. So this is a key sequence of where Otto and mixed in with Doctor Strange are talking, and we learn why Peter and Strange are going to be at odds at one point in this movie. Is that Doc Ock goes, "You're fighting ghosts," and he doesn't understand at the time. And then Strange's like, they can't go back because they are ghosts. They are dead because they die fighting Spider-Man. And I said this on Tuesday. Do not misinterpret what he said. They die fighting Spider-Man. That doesn't mean that Spider-Man killed them.
Right. No, Spider-Man doesn't do that. But right before this shot that you're on, back that right there, I love that shot.
Oh yeah.
Of how zoomed out it is, how small. Just that shot has just really caught my eye every time.
And so I just love how this fighting sequence is going. And so this is where, the pumpkin bomb goes off, but
that pumpkin bomb exploding there reminded me of the pumpkin bombs exploding around Toby in the first Spider-Man movie, like in that burning building and stuff.
What, like destroying his mask and everything like that too. This is where Peter stands for life while Strange is very much trying to preserve reality, and this is where they go at odds.
Did you see, there's this comment from Clay. He says, could a superior Spider-Man kill? To which I would say yes, but an amazing Spider-Man would not.
Okay, so this box we were talking about on Tuesday, I've
rewinded a little.
Yeah.
There's the shot right before he pulls him out where you can see Spider-Man's web. He's webbed. It's really right before that. He webbed himself through the portals, comes out to his feet. Doctor Strange has he's leveled up, you might say.
Yep. Oh, nice.
And it's so I'm like, that is a clever shot, and I'm a little questioning how he's suspended there, but we can chalk that up to magic because you think he'd be falling. I think that's a really, really cool use of Strange's powers.
Yeah, so this cube that he's holding that's become a point of contention, I think this is what's holding the villains in the sanctum or how they're transported, but it also could be the conduit to sending them back to their universe.
It's got to be our MacGuffin, right?
Yep.
Astral plane shot. Yes, every time we've seen it with Strange in the movie Doctor Strange, with the Hulk and Endgame, and now this.
We're seeing this shot that we saw in the Empire magazine for the first time. So this is it in context. So the nanotech and just the way Otto is looking at how the red nanotech is going over it. So he's even kind of surprised at what's going on.
Yeah. It makes me wonder if the nanotech is trying to protect Peter.
Yep. Oh, I think it definitely is. I think this is a way of preservation. So we get Peter. Okay, here we go. Finally, it is confirmed. He's taken it down, but there's no else hiding it. Jamie Foxx is confirmed Electro. Loving the way they're doing the original mask
Yes.
in this way. That is a very, very cool way of doing it.
His costume for me has a few times by certain artists looked good, but most of the time looks goofy. This, I think, was a great way to translate it to live action.
There's been to me, I'm wondering how, I'm going to be very curious how each of these villains shows up in this movie, their entrance, especially Electro's, how he's, because obviously it's a different color of electricity, you know, not in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah, he showed a little bit of the, mostly the blue, but you did see some of the yellow a little bit. So, I mean, this is not unheard of, but him being completely in yellow is going to be interesting. But I'm very curious to see how each one of these villains enters the MCU universe.
Mhm.
And so that's interesting, though, seeing that's Otto falling,
Right.
you know. So is he on the side of Peter?
He's definitely not on the side of Electro. We can
Yeah.
go that far. Great flip there.
Yep.
All
right. Here we go.
Let's see. What's our timestamp at? All right. So
Too
right
early.
around this shot, Inquisitor K said that at a minute 2:08, there's an identical sound to Andrew's web throwing. So I'd need to go back and like really listen to that. And he mentioned up a couple comments that he's been looking at some videos, and it sounds, there's a couple shots that sound like the Andrew Garfield web shooters. I need to go back and look at it, but that's a really interesting catch if that's right.
Yeah, really. And I'm never going to catch this as much, people. But again, look at some of the high resolutions. You can see a better look at Goblin in a new Green Goblin in a new getup. We got Lizard here. We have Sandman, a much improved CG Sandman at that point. But yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting if he has the statement's been made in the trailer that all these villains die fighting Spider-Man. We didn't see Lizard die. We didn't see Sandman die in their respective movies. I'm sure we're gonna get some sort of explanation of how they died. You know?
Yeah, I feel like it's easy enough for, I mean, like the first two that appear to come out based on the order of the trailer, based on the presumed bridge scene, is Otto and Norman. I could see where Strange comes to that conclusion of, oh, they've all fought a Spider-Man and they all end up dying.
Yeah.
Or maybe even like for the Lizard, the death is more metaphorical, like because he became Kurt Connors, but the Lizard died based on, you know, they exploded that bomb of, I'm going to call it antigen or cure that reverted the Lizard changes.
Yeah. So this is what we kind of had a lot of fun discussing this on Tuesday night. We'll bring it up again. Tom Holland's here. Lizard is about to be hitting something. Who the heck is he hitting? And who the heck is Electro hitting? Because it looks like Tom Holland Spider-Man is going after Sandman.
Well, if you keep playing, you'll notice the Lizard's head does not turn anymore.
Yeah,
but
anymore.
It did turn, which means
it turned ridiculous.
Just to be clear, on YouTube, like creators don't have the ability to swap out a video and like keep all the stats and stuff on the video, which means this took an act of like literally an act of Google to do. Google had to do this for Sony, for Marvel, to swap it out because they did change it out. And the I think it was the Brazil trailer had it even more prominent with how much you could see his head turning.
That neck went almost like 180.
And it's really interesting to me that they left, like that's a mess up. Or you know what? It probably is a mess up. At the same time, the way the marketing's been for this, I'm like, I wouldn't even put it past them. Just leave something in there. But even this shot, I really, really like the shot. It's really cool. But yeah, like Electro and Lizard are not jumping at Tom Holland right now.
Yeah, we're pretty confident. Just kind of like the bridge shot we had theorized. Oh, this is where possible two other Spider-Man can fit in. This definitely is where two Spider-Men fit in perfectly.
Yeah, and they definitely, Marvel has a history of this with Spider-Man in the Civil War trailers. My coworker David was telling me, like reminding me about this in the very first Civil War trailer. Like there's a shot at the airport that Spider-Man's in the movie and he's not in it in the trailer.
Yep. So MJ is falling. Ned is trying to reach out and MJ is falling. Peter's going after it, but it's hard to see. But the more I've seen this trailer, the more I'm starting to believe that is not Tom Holland Spider-Man grabbing for MJ.
It's hard to tell because he's in a different suit, but I think it's very possible it's someone else. Part of me hopes it's Andrew just to get him a little vindication for what he'll consider his failure in Amazing 2.
I'm gonna put it out there that I definitely agree. I'm saying it's Andrew. I think this is his redemption to save it. I think that's going to be a big part of his story, is the death of Gwen and the effect of it. And he's not going to let Peter go through with that, losing MJ.
I think it's kind of an interesting observation that in Spider-Man 1, Goblin chucked Mary Jane off the bridge. And so they alluded to that. And then in the next series, it was the second movie, Amazing Spider-Man 2, where again, Goblin chucked, this time, Gwen off down the bell tower, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so now we're in the third version of the live action Spider-Man movies, and it's the third Spider-Man movie where now this love interest is having her falling moment.
Yep. But so not on a bridge.
1-1 right now. 1-1. Let's find out how it goes.
So no way.
Fanboy Clay says, I wouldn't let Andrew try this. We all know what happened last time. That's right. You definitely want Toby for the success rate.
But he's also not going after using webbing. A hand is key. Strange is saying, I can't do anything. I can't stop them. They're all coming through.
So back there, Strange on the Statue of Liberty, a lot of people are comparing like the purple and stuff and like pointing out like kind of
Agatha.
was reminding them not just of Agatha, but of He Who Remains, when they went past the point of no return where he no longer knew what was going to happen, where Sylvie basically broke up the multiverse. I still wonder if the multiverse breaking was earlier in the initial spell, but maybe it's a case of, just to be super speculative, the initial spell brought the spider characters in, and now it's the multiverse is opening up even more, leading us into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Also seen it pointed out that this would not be the first Marvel movie to have its climactic battle on and around the Statue of Liberty, going all the way back to the first X-Men movie.
Yep, very true. And so I got one of my call-outs, but it wasn't order tickets now, but at least we have a date for when tickets. Spidey Monday, November 29th, order tickets. So we got to figure out what time those go live.
Yeah, I definitely will be all over that when it happens.
So, but yeah, so that is our trailer. And I don't need to see another trailer. I don't want it. They don't need it. They don't. Trailer 2 is the final trailer. They don't need to do anymore. If anything, it's going to ruin the movie.
I still think they should do a third trailer or a third promo, but it should literally just be like in regular civilian clothes, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming out saying, yeah, we're in it. Tickets are on sale.
And Philip Barker is in the chat. I forgot to plug at the beginning, but saying what up, Marvel Alliance. I just did a recording with him and Lisa from I Love the Movie for his show, Superhero Stress. At that point, want to give that a shout out at that point. So we're doing we just did a review on Eternal, so make sure to check that out when it drops. So thank you, Phil, for having me on your show. But anything else in the chat that we missed before we take our ad break and move on from the trailer, even though we can continue to talk about it for hours on end?
I think we're good, other than mentioning that Fanboy Clay just said technically this is the first trailer and the other was a teaser.
True.
I feel like that's splitting hairs. Like, to me, teasers are like 30 seconds. They're short. And the first one was 2 minutes long? I don't know. It's a trailer, just maybe, I think it's splitting hairs.
Yeah, I mean, usually your first thing is not it's usually a trailer. I mean, usually a teaser, but yeah, it was definitely longer than your typical teaser. But like you're saying, splitting hairs. But all right, so we're going to take our first ad break and possibly our only ad break for this show. We don't have much news to go over. We only have one news item to really go over this week. So listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. So I'm going to give you that 3 count before they come on, and turn that volume down. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right. So, we've covered a lot in 4 shows in 8 days at that point. So Brent and I were saying, counting our lucky stars, that we decided to do a Disney Plus Day focused one, because Man, this would be a long episode if we did this and Disney Plus Day.
Yeah, it's a good thing we did that extra episode for sure.
Yep. But the kind of the main story, it's kind of, I think Brendan and I want to kind of put this out there, the story more so because of a lot of the clickbaitiness of how this broke and kind of separating fact from fiction. And Brent, you definitely, I put it in our notes because I didn't want you to forget exactly how it was done and said. But
I went to put it in today,
yeah,
and you already had it in there. So
I did it because I was watching out for you. But our news topic of this week, Doctor Strange 2 starts reshoots with the Spider-Man No Way Home pickup crew. So this came from the Hollywood Reporter, revealing that Marvel's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is set to undergo, they call it, significant reshoots in the coming weeks. They report that production will undertake a further 6 weeks of shooting in Los Angeles, with cast and crew working 6 days a week. The block is intended to cover both reshoots and additional photography. Sam Raimi remains the director, as if that was ever in question, but with past reshoots of other movies, sometimes we get a little controversy with that, but Sam Raimi is still directing the reshoots, and Michael Waldron, who wrote Loki, will be writing the additional scenes. The crew involved in the reshoots is said to be the crew who worked on the pickups for Spider-Man No Way Home and Moon Knight. Sources reveal to the Hollywood Reporter that the reason for these long reshoots is twofold. 2 weeks of production were delayed due to actor availability during this block, and then production is also said to be catching up with pandemic-related matters. Now, remember, Marvel's backed up. This movie was supposed to release in February. It is now backed up to May, and everything else on the slate. This is a big movie for what they're trying to do. So it didn't really strike me as like, oh, of course they're doing reshoots, but the clickbaitiness of the headlines of, oh, reshoots, there must be problems, things like that. Also, remember, this movie was supposed to come before No Way Home. So John Watts has also gone on record that the third act, they were writing a lot of that, and Tom Holland has verified that a big portion of the script, particularly the third act, had been being rewritten on set due to the changes. And so now Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness has also gone through rewrites because Spider-Man No Way Home has come first, and it changes how they were going to be setting up that movie. Casey Walsh. Oh, go ahead.
I want to say, I think part of this, though, I just want to remind people of this, that this isn't really a case of where they could just delay Spider-Man Beyond. If this was 100% a Marvel Studios production, maybe Spider-Man, that original order, is preserved. But they also have to work with Sony. Sony wants the movie to come out, right? And it's still important to Disney that this movie comes out in 2021 because of the deal for after the pay one windows, after the VOD, after the home rental or the home release time, that anything in 2022 from Sony is going to be going to Netflix. So Morbius should go, unless a lot of money for to exchange hands, will go to Netflix after those times. The 2021 and earlier will be eligible for Disney Plus.
Yeah. So it again, it's a marketing thing. And again, it is the right move if they want to have that on their platform of choice and control that for even just a short amount of time. It's important. Now, Casey Walsh from Geek Worldwide posted a couple of tweets following up on this story. The one I want to focus on is saying he claims he's gotten some info that these reshoots, that is basically what's happening. Feige is actually pleased with Raimi and the film's direction. They're adding people who were busy filming a show. He goes wink, wink emoji during Principal, and lining up pivotal scenes that also involve some cameos that they were waiting for actor and actress availability. We have heard a lot of rumors of cameos from, we talked about it at the show, Professor X making appearance, other characters from other franchises pre-MCU making appearances. So again, reshoots don't ever bother me. It never really bothered me, and it just became the clickbait. So significant reshoots. There's lots of problems. They're changing the story. Wanda's too evil. They need to make changes. Like, so what?
And the thing is, it used to be true. That used to be true, but now it's commonplace. It is commonplace at this point for reshoots, for pickups. That's the thing. It's not even always reshoots. Sometimes it's pickups. Sometimes it's scheduled because this is when they could fit the actor in. Like they couldn't use them during principal photography, but it's a smaller part. We can pick them up during the reshoot, so we're going to do it then. Totally normal.
And again, they, Benedict Cumberbatch, Elizabeth Olsen, two main players in this movie itself, that they do principal photography and they have other roles they have to go off to, and they have to fix stuff. And if they're changing some storylines, okay, let's say, for instance, they're making her quote unquote less evil. Okay, but again, we haven't seen how this is going to look and how this is going to shape out. So let's just, and I put this in our show notes, and I'll say, like, calm the F down. Let's calm down.
I'm still not convinced they should be treating Wanda as though she is evil.
Yeah, no, they should.
I don't. I think that's the way WandaVision ended. I refuse to call her evil.
Yeah.
Misguided, making mistakes, sure, but not evil.
She's trying to get her kids back that she had, and again, that takes a lot. Even though, yes, they were created by her. That again, WandaVision deals with a lot of post-traumatic stress and dealing with losing the love of her life and with Vision. So whole thing of a lot of things that are going on with her, that mental illness is a big key with this, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this takes shape in Multiverse of Madness. But you had brought up a point, and I want you to kind of take this when I say, calm the F down, is from the book that we had talked about a couple weeks ago that come out, the story of the Marvel Studios and the creation of the first 20 years, or excuse me, first 10 years of the Marvel Universe. You found a really interesting quote that kind of puts, for those of you that aren't kind of following this like we do, what reshoots are like, and that this is not the most significant reshoots of ever.
Yeah, I'm still working my way through this, and I read this, and it wasn't that long after that this story came out, and I thought, well, that's fortunate timing on my part. So Louis D'Esposito, the co-president of Marvel Studios, he said, quote, after the first two Iron Man movies, which means they're 3 movies into the MCU. Yeah. After the first 2 Iron Man movies, we knew we couldn't get it 100% right during the shoot. There would be something we needed to clarify, something we wanted to do differently. So we tell all the actors there's going to be additional photography sometime in the future. We give dates so they can book it out. What are you going to shoot? We hear back from them. We don't know, but we know we are going to shoot. It becomes surgical. And he goes on to say the only agenda is to make a great film, and there's no fear in the last minute of saying, you know what, we can make this better. And literally, like in this book, when I discovered Iron Man 1, like the third act, the way, like the final way that Ironmonger was defeated, like it was super late in the game when they came to that conclusion. And so this, to me, again, they've been doing reshoots. They've done reshoots on all of them. They have been formally scheduled since I guess at this point it would be since Thor, right? The 4th movie, formally scheduled for over 20 movies. It's normal. And that Hollywood Reporter article even mentioned other sources say this isn't the biggest reshoot period Marvel's ever had. So like their own article contradicts their headline, but of course that's not what people pick up.
No, and like I said, even they call themselves out, but they put like significant reshoots. It's just like, just looking at the idea of what this movie is supposed to be doing, I'm okay with significant reshoots, because again, they have a lot of moving pieces. And if this movie is going to have even bigger cameos, surprise cameos that we haven't even known about or heard about yet, do the reshoots. If it, as I'm a video game, person,
yes,
delays are not a bad thing. If it gives us a better story, more improved CG, things like that, give them the time to put out the best movie they can. Don't rush it. It's not needed. We'll all be okay.
I completely agree. Fanboy Clay asked this question to us. He said, in referring to the strange reshoots, we've never seen the MCU movies push this kind of narrative. Question is, are we seeing this kind of clickbait headline because of the negative perception of Eternals? I honestly don't think that we are. I don't think one is driving the other. Maybe somewhere, but even the critics who didn't like Eternals, I just don't see them going, I didn't like Eternals, so I'm going to attack Doctor Strange. Like, it just doesn't line up for me.
I think this stems from it. I agree. I've said this before. Eternals, the division of the fan base of Eternals had nothing to do with this. Oh, God, we got to do everything. Because this movie has nothing to do with the Eternals right now. Like, I don't see a direct connection from Eternals to Doctor Strange and vice versa. I don't see it right now. They could try, but I just don't see that's the play for right now. We've heard so many different times from so many different people in Marvel. Eternals right now is quote unquote standalone in the sense of where it places itself. So it it's just the idea that we've had big time movies, AAA movies that are go through reshoots, and you could go look back at Rogue One, the controversy behind those reshoots, Solo, the controversy behind that, Zack Snyder's Justice League, the controversy behind like everything that builds with that. When you see, oh my gosh, it's longer than a couple of weeks. Oh, they must have major problems. Is Sam Raimi still the director? It's just like one thing does not lead to the other.
Yeah, and I know sometimes other directors come in and like help out with the credit scenes,
Mm-hmm.
but the
Yeah.
reshoots are traditionally the primary director and maybe like his second unit directors or her second unit director, I should say, as the case may be. I really don't know where this story came from 20 plus movies into this standard operating procedure. Honestly, it would be a bigger red flag to me if they didn't do reshoots.
Yeah.
I would be way more concerned with that.
Mm-hmm. And I don't, and like we said, I think almost I would love to look up a movie of a comparison of this kind of movie of superhero movie that doesn't go through reshoots.
Good luck.
I can't say every movie goes through reshoots. I can make an assumption, but someone's going to call me out. It's like, oh, this one didn't go through reshoots, and okay, you got me, but I'm not going to make that claim.
At this point, for these kind of 150 million, $200 million movies, reshoots are the norm. They are a part of it, even for other studios at this point beyond Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios, as far as I know, is really the first to bake it into their normal operating, but it's a good idea. And it's not like it's proprietary. Other people are doing it too, and they should be.
Yeah. Again, if it gives us a better movie and it refines and fixes some things that weren't done right in principle, go for it. So yeah, so that's our only news item. And as we said again, next week will just be Hawkeye only. So hopefully punting for 2 weeks will build up some news, some new news and things like that. But all right. So I think Fanboy Clay was our only kind of question this week, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So let us head to your fact or fiction for this week.
All right, pulling that up, and I want to see which ones I was going to do. Okay, so
and as a reminder for those listeners, again, we're putting a hold on putting our fact or fictions out there as polling until after No Way Home.
Right. So the first one I want to go with, let's just reference Spider-Man again because I alluded to this earlier. Tobey Maguire will say the famous responsibility line to Tom Holland. Fact or fiction?
Fact. If I think it. I like Toby saying it more, and I think it's going to matter more from Toby since he was our first kind of as the part of the beginning of the golden age of superhero movies. At that point, it's going to land more coming from him.
I'm going to say fact as well. I think that I really think it's more likely that he starts it and Tom Holland finishes it because he already knows it because Uncle Ben has said it. But I do still think we're going to see Uncle Ben in this. So one way or the other, I think that line is going to be out. Okay, so next one. By the end of Phase 5, there will be an animated Marvel team up series.
The end of Phase 5. Yeah, I mean, knowing what we've seen from how hard they're leaning into animation from Marvel Studios, yeah, that would be kind of a cool series, a team up series. And now, would you want like 2 characters teaming up and that's the whole series, or kind of like what Marvel team up in the comics is changing over the team ups every single episode, or every couple of episodes?
So that would be my preference. Most Marvel team ups, it's, like I think the most recent series, which is pretty old now, is basically a Spider-Man team up book. Not necessarily that, but just, just a couple characters, throw them together who aren't normally together.
Yeah, no, I think that's cool. And again, I would like him not necessarily every single episode to change. I would like maybe 2 or 3 episodes, build those kind of characters, and then kind of, okay, we got a whole new group of playmates to go with.
All right, my final one. I actually just called an audible on myself for what I was going to do for this third one. An X-Men 97 character. Okay, so X-Men, the animated series. An X-Men 97 character will appear in What If by the end of a presumed season 3 of What If.
So we have no date on What If season 2 yet, and I do not foresee it coming out next year. If it does, we're talking end of season. We're talking end of 2022. But I see I see season 2 as a 2023,
which is also when X-Men 97 is.
which is X-Men 97.
But I'm saying by the third What If season.
Mm-hmm. I'm just kind of playing around with that. That might be the time when X-Men are introduced in the MCU if they are continuing with the math in my head with the years. I would say fact, it's not a hard fact. That's if everything lines up, and that's when they're going to introduce the X-Men, because they've been very, very firm on no MCU character will be introduced in What If without having a proper movie introduction first.
I think it's fact as well. I think by waiting until What If season 3, this gives X-Men 97 a chance to reestablish itself.
If it's going to be canon.
And I think that this is something that could potentially break that rule, because they might argue, well, this isn't the MCU Wolverine. It's not the MCU Cyclops. It's that Cyclops.
Yeah, they could change again. He's only said through season 2, so they could break the rule in season 3 and kind of open the doors. So, all right, yeah. So, yeah, good one. So, I'll work on mine for next week. We'll see what. 2 weeks. So I've got some time to play with, and Hawkeye is going to play into that as well.
Yes, you got some time.
All right, so let us move to Hawkeye issues 7 and 8. So, kind of a two very different issues.
Mm-hmm.
With our first one, kind of looking at both Hawkeye and Kate Bishop going through two different issues, but dealing with basically, I guess at the time, was this kind of an issue like Hurricane Sandy issue? I mean, obviously the cover of the issue looks like a hurricane, but I wonder if this is.
I kind of wondered. I'd have to go back and like double check dates. And release dates. I did have like that thought. Honestly, I really enjoyed this issue with one complaint. I kind of wish it had been 2 issues long. I felt like both our Hawkeyes needed a little more time to flesh out their stories. And especially Kate, like she seemed to get the short end of the stick on that. And I didn't count the pages, so maybe I'm wrong about that. It just felt like Clint could use a little more time and Kate could use quite a bit more time. And maybe I'm just being greedy, because as a one-off, it's still a good, solid issue. I was really enjoying it, and I wanted more of both of these stories.
Yeah, I'm kind of eyeballing the number. I think they're about the same. It just seemed like Clint seemed a little more fleshed out, maybe with panels versus the amount of panels per page for Kate.
Maybe, yeah.
So I think page count, I think it's pretty close, if not exactly the same, but I think maybe the paneling gave more of a story, especially with the tenet that Hawkeye has in helping out his father, who seems to be kind of a jackwagon to his son.
Yeah.
And the meaning of the box says stuff is the only thing he's got left of his mom. But Kate dealing with this kind of elitist party is quite interesting.
Yeah, like an engagement party or something that Kate was going to, whereas Clint, he's just helping out his buddy Grills, who he realizes he didn't even know the name of.
Yep. So yeah, interesting with that. And then we kind of transition to a basically kind of a Valentine's Day kind of issue. If we,
that's a good way to look at it. Yeah,
Valentine's Day issue with I just love the panel of seeing Black Widow, his ex-wife, and his friend, that's girlfriend,
Jessica
baby.
Drew, yeah.
Yeah, Jessica Drew. That just the looks that they're all giving him was like, oh man.
Yeah, that whole page was hilarious. Just seeing the reaction to this woman just walking in and starting to make out with Clint.
Especially that this is dating back to a couple of issues back when we get introduced to this girl that they had the car chase, stealing the car and him hooking up with at one point.
Yeah, and I can't decide. I wouldn't want it every issue, but I kind of like these like covers of a magazine that they put in there. Like one says mystery girl with, I was a redhead car thief, my father, my fiend. Do you know the way to anywhere? Like I kind of like those, and they have several of them throughout. I thought it was clever.
Yeah, and kind of how the issue kind of goes through with him trying to help her out and things like that. He's he's basically at the end of it, they're all the bro mafia is basically taking a hit on Clint and using Kingpin's kind of gang of all these underlords going after Hawkeye.
Yeah, this bro mafia, I like them. It cracks me up, bro. Just I like them a lot. I'm really looking forward to seeing them, presumably next week when we get to start that journey.
Yeah, we'll start that journey, and so fun issues. The each one of these is a one-off, sort of. I think obviously the end of issue 8 can maybe more continues the idea, but nice ones. Not bad, but not the top of it. So what we've seen, I think the prior issues have definitely been better.
Yeah, I think their part of that is just more. These were more effectively one shots versus telling the longer story. But in general, they were quick reads, they were easy reads, but they were good reads.
Yep. So, all right. So next week like I said, we will be doing Hawkeye issues, episodes 1 and 2, and issues 9 and 10 of Hawkeye. So make sure if you're keeping along with us, read those. We'll be talking about them next week. So, all right. Volume 80 in the can. Lots to talk about. Hopefully, again, as we kept on saying, hopefully you've enjoyed all this extra Marvel Alliance content. But it definitely makes Brent and I very tired. But we love talking about this stuff, so it always gives us that little bit of energy to talk Marvel with y'all.
Absolutely.
All right, Brent, tell people how they can follow you and plug your show.
Yeah, Brentak Prime on Twitter. Same on TikTok. I've been screwing around with that lately, so look for me on there as well. And Fans Without Borders is scheduled to record this weekend. We'll talk a little bit Disney Plus Day. We got to spend some serious time on all that Star Wars content they gifted us with, and because I really haven't got to talk about all that yet.
Yeah, how long is Ray's segment going to be on that one?
We last year for the Disney Investor Day, we really as we called it, divided and conquered. Like I broke down all the Marvel notes. I think he must still be breaking down the Star Wars notes this year because man, there was a lot to do. But so we're going to talk about that. Of course, we'll talk about the Spider-Man trailer, and so check that out. That episode will drop on it should drop on Monday if everything goes according to normal schedule.
Gotcha. Well, good. Looking forward to that. And again, want to continue. Again, thank you to our sponsor, organicpricebooks.com. Again, go there, use that code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. You can follow the show on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balga. Again, my show, World's Finest True Believer, dropping a new episode this Monday on the Geek Ultimate Alliance feed. You can follow that at Finest Believers. And you can email the show at Marvel Alliance Podcast at gmail.com. And you can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet and DM us if you have any questions, fact or fictions. Again, stay away from those No Way Home spoilers. We don't need those. And continue to rate and review the Marvel Alliance solo feed and the Geek Ultimate Alliance feed on Apple Podcasts, whichever platform of choice may be. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed our breakdown of that trailer. Hopefully we filled you all with more questions, more things you want to kind of catch that we brought out that you want to watch for a third, fourth, or 10th time like I have. Thank you all in chat. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right. So we've got a new Disney Plus show. We have waited how long since What If ended?
I don't know the actual days. Wow, when was it? So
I want to say about
early September, right?
Yeah, so coming close to a month and a half.
Because I think when Shang-Chi, I'm trying to think. I don't know. It's been a while.
It's been a tick at that point.
I say it's been a while. Like we haven't had at this point in the calendar year 7 projects from Marvel Studios with 2 more to go.
Yeah, but yeah. So next Wednesday we will get 2 episodes of Hawkeye, and we've heard some stuff about possibly it's being 45 minutes, 47 minutes, things like that. I'm so tired of figuring out how long episodes are going to be. I'm hoping it's going to be longer than 30 minutes because I think the show, for just being 6 episodes, just being a 30-minute show, would be kind of worrisome to me of how much we're trying to go to.
Yeah, I was joking with my wife because we'll get up at 4 a.m. to watch them, and hopefully hopefully my son will sleep late enough that we can get them both finished before he wakes up.
Mhm.
It'll be close, but I think we'll make it. And I was like, man, if these were the 35 to 40-minute episodes and then move the next ones to the longer, that'd help me out. But good problem to have.
So we just want to kind of do a quick post credits discussion, looking at what are our hopes for Hawkeye in general, not just these first 2 episodes.
I'm going to
Expectations.
start with just in general. I want to hear lots of bros. I want to hear lots of the bros. I think that's really funny. I seriously, just Clint hasn't really had a ton of time. Like, he hasn't had a ton of time devoted to him in the movies. Sure, we got a little bit in Endgame, we got a little bit in Ultron, but he just feels like he's kind of been short shrifted, right? I'm just really looking forward to like getting to give Jeremy Renner some real lead time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to and hoping we delve into more of his time as Ronin, because we know and we've seen in the trailers that
Yes.
his first interactions with Kate is her donning the Ronin guise and costumes. So I'm just saying that prime way for us to, you don't have to spend a lot of time, but I'd like a little more discussion about more than just I became a darker person. I need a little bit more. I really do. And maybe part of his time as Ronin is going to continue to come and haunt them as a result.
I definitely agree. And I can't talk about hopes and expectations without acknowledging this. And let me be clear, if this doesn't happen, I can still judge accordingly, but I'd be lying if my hopes weren't up for it. I have to mention, I think I've talked about this more than Snell talks about Ralph Sponer, but I have to mention.
Did you just say Ralph Sponer?
I know what I said.
Okay.
I have to mention Vincent D'Onofrio. He's still doing his teasing thing. He just the other day, Marvel Studios tweets, a promo. It's like 1 week until we hit the mark with Hawkeye. And he quote tweets it and says, "This is going to be fun. I love these Marvel series." Such a Cox tease. And I want to see it so bad.
I see what you did there too.
I want to see Kingpin. I mean, the connections to Echo, it's so strong. So I have to mention that. But I will also say, slightly more seriously, I am looking forward to meeting the Echo character because, hey, we're getting the spinoff show, right? Or whatever you call it in the MCU. We're getting another show starring Echo. And I think seeing that is going to be awesome. It's a native actress. She really is, deaf. The representation angle is fantastic.
Native American.
And Native American. The representation angle, I think, is so important, and it's so awesome that this is happening. And so I hope that we love the character. She's awesome in the comics. I hope that we love the character in the show as well. And
I want to see that. I want to see that kind of hand, the handprint that she does on there. I love that callback, and especially, you say that, Vincent's been playing a fun game on Twitter and denying things, and then 1 second saying, "Oh, I'm looking forward to this." The what was finally revealed as the official showrunner of Echo, she had been for the last couple of months dropping some serious hints of her involvement with this, so much so that David Mack, who is one of the co-creators of Echo, even said, "Hey, can you like literally put this on Twitter?" Having a conversation with her over replies and comments saying, "Hey, you say like you're working with something Marvel, can you talk about it, or can you talk about her DM?" Like David Mack even noticing it, because she gives a lot of praise to him for that. It's like, okay, you're not being so subtle about this. I have said, as you have said, I think the Val moment, as it was in Falcon and Winter Soldier, Julia Dreyfus, Vincent D'Onofrio will be our Val for this.
And I love the comparison to Val, because let me be clear, this is Clint Barton's show. This is Kate Bishop's show. Those are our leads. I'm excited for Echo. I don't want it to become the Kingpin show.
No, it doesn't need to be. I just one episode, one scene.
But yes, like that is enough. Like Val was 2 scenes, right?
Yep.
Plus Black Widow, I guess. But in Falcon and Winter Soldier, Val, where she was introduced to us, Val was 2 scenes. That is enough. Like that is 1 scene. 1 scene, just him coming out. That is enough, and I will be so freaking happy if and when it happens. And honestly, I know the rumors say episode 5. I think it's going to happen. Please don't tell me if somebody has seen a leak. I think it is going to happen And if it doesn't, okay, I'll be, oh, that stinks, but that's not the show's fault because they never advertised Kingpin. It was all rumors. So it's not
Now,
the show's fault just because my anticipation is up.
what episode comes out the week of No Way Home? Would
Well,
that be 5 or
it's
6?
now episode 5.
Okay,
I think.
so
Let me double check the calendar.
but as you're checking at that point, besides that, I don't think, I'm very interested to see when Yolana comes into this show because we know she's in this show, so that'll be interesting because she's been put on the mission to hunt down Hawkeye. But I don't think Clint's gonna die at the end of this. I don't need that for the character. I don't want that for the character in this series. I'm fine with the mantle being passed officially to Kate Bishop, but I don't need to see. Clint needs to go off and be with his family for Christmas.
I
Period.
would like Clint to retire for real. He tried it in Civil War. He tried it again throughout Infinity War and the beginning of Endgame. I would like him to retire for real. Okay, so the 24th next week is 2 episodes. So episodes 1 and 2, and then episode 3 on the 1st, episode 4th on the 8th of December, episode 5 on the 15th, which will be one day before premiere night of Spider-Man No Way Home. So it is conceivable that week, if the episode 5 rumor is true, that we could see both potentially Kingpin and Matt Murdock make their MCU debuts. Again, no leaks, don't tell us anything, but it could be an absolutely just glorious week. And again, if they're not in it, they were never advertised. That's our speculation. There's rumors, but it's not fair to the show. I love this one line I heard. I think it was on Slash Film. Don't let your speculation become your expectation.
Yep.
And so it's not fair to the show. I will still grade these episodes accordingly. I will still talk. It will not ruin it for me if Kingpin's not in it.
Yep.
But it'll be that much better if he is.
Yep, it will be. But again, we have a whole show entitled Echo to be filmed. So if somehow we don't get Kingpin, then I'm hoping for Kingpin in that show. My last one, I don't need a whole episode. We haven't gotten to the issue yet. I'd like a callback to the Pizza Dog issue of the comics, just a little bit. I need just a little bit of that because that will be so sweet.
Well, he got a character poster.
He did get a character poster.
I think there's a reasonable chance, even if it's a 5-minute segment, that we will get.
That's all I need. That's all I need. I just love that issue. It won't be next week. It's the week after we get that issue.
Good, because we probably won't be having that episode next week. But that's fun, and that is something I'd like to see as well. I'm with you on that. That would be. I just started cracking up when I saw they gave the Pizza Dog a poster.
Yep. So, all right. So we're going to be excited again. We'll be recording that not live on Wednesday. You'll see it in your feeds on Friday for all your Black Friday shopping needs. Thank all listeners. To our American friends, happy Thanksgiving, happy early Thanksgiving, and to our non-American friends, happy days ahead. Happy Hawkeye.
Happy Hawkeye.
Yep. Happy Hawkeye. Later.